Welcome to this presentation on improving cash flow. Your task is to take notes on each of the methods of improving cash flow, including your notes, definitions, advantages and disadvantages of each method, and make sure you bring these notes to class. Here is a list of the methods. You don't need to write all these down now because we'll be touching on each of them throughout this presentation. The first is an overdraft. This is a short-term arrangement of finance for a business, and it allows them to draw over and above the finance they have available in their bank account. So it can draw as much as it wants to, up to an agreed limit. Its main drawbacks are that it is often expensive in terms of interest payments and can be withdrawn by the bank very quickly. It does, however, offer a business flexibility if it only needs a short-term amount of finance for a short amount of time. Short-term loans are when a business borrows a fixed amount for an agreed amount of time. The drawback of this is that it has a high interest cost and must be paid back on time, but it does provide a good cash inflow for a firm. Another possible problem of the short-term loan is the fact that the firm will have to pay this back regardless of whether it still needs the loan or not, and that will include all the interest payments. So even if they don't need the loan anymore, they're still saddled with the extra debt of having to pay that interest off. Sale of assets. A firm can choose to sell redundant assets that it doesn't need anymore in order to provide a boost to their cash inflows. However, the drawbacks for this is that you will only secure a lower price if you're looking to sell an asset quickly, and you may need the assets later. So finally, with sale of assets, you may also need the assets later, and this is a drawback, as of course then you would have to buy them back possibly at a higher price. So it's a real short-term fix, and you really can only really sell assets you don't need anymore. If we look to delay payments to suppliers, this reduces cash outflows in the short term. The drawback from this, though, is that suppliers may reduce any discounts that we've agreed for purchases. They can also refuse to trade if they believe you represent too high a risk. Ultimately, our suppliers won't be keen to deal with us if we're asking for additional time to pay over and above any agreed credit periods we already have in place. So we have to be wary of doing this, although in the short run it does give you that little short-term boost that might mean your cash inflows are increased significantly to get you to a point in time where you'll actually be able to pay your supplier more regularly. Cuts to spending in areas that don't affect production, including promotion, are an effective way of reducing cash outflows. You can cut areas like promotion because they don't affect the product's quality or the quality of the service that you offer. However, the drawback to this is that in the long run, how do you generate additional demand for your product that will ultimately boost sales, which ultimately helps to improve your cash flow position. Debt factoring is a little bit more tricky. This is when you transfer debts to a third party in order to reorganise your cash flow. Firms tend to use this to prevent bad debts and to ensure that they at least receive some payment from customers who owe the business cash they cannot afford. Debt factoring will see a firm receive 80 to 85% of the original debt. The remaining percentage is the debt factoring firm's fee to collect from the debtor, so that's where they make their money. The main benefit of this is that you guarantee some cash inflow and prevent a bad debt and ultimately never being paid. The drawback is that this costs and doesn't come for free and shouldn't be used lightly. And finally, sale and leaseback. This occurs when a firm sells a large asset for a fixed sum and then rents it back, which is great because they get a boost to cash flow by way of a huge inflow, but in the long run firms have that additional outflow each month when leasing back the asset. The key to this decision is how long are you planning on leasing the asset back, and how likely is it that you'll ever want to own it again. Just a reminder of your task. Take notes on each of the methods of improving the cash flow forecasting. Include the definitions, try and get an advantage and disadvantage of each method, and bring the notes to class. You'll need them to help with an activity. Good luck.